Jim Thorpe? No, I haven't. No?
Yeah, I have.
Okay.
Obviously, it's one of those destinations. Also a sports fan, so I
Oh, okay.
made sure I saw Jim Thorpe.
Yep. Yeah, I find it incredible town. I grew up 5 houses up the street here from Mesa Packers, where I grew up. Now it's gone for 34 years, but nonetheless to be back and stuff like that. All right, unfortunately, gonna have the back of my head here. But this is an incredible tourist town. It's definitely, I would argue, the epicenter of tourism in Carbon County. It is one of the major draws.
It's cool.
Oh, well, now we're going to stop right now. Again, this is a special train coming in if you want to see right now. This is, I think, the F train that's coming in. You can come right to the one. Look at all the folks here photographing right now. You're going to see it coming in. This is from the Reading.
Mm-hmm.
You should see the engine come in. It's one of the newer engines that they're done.
How cool.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, so as Andy brings in these trains and stuff, you'll see all types of folks who have interest in the trains here, doing all their photography work and stuff. They're in there. Yeah, look at all the folks. Yeah. Yeah. All right, we gotta get to work.
I
So,
thought it would keep going. Huh?
yeah. I'm sorry.
I thought it was gonna be like a longer train, but
No, it's just there. And again, I can't recall why specifically Andy Muller, Mr. Muller's bringing this one in at this time. I'm sure just to highlight it. You know, we're having a current pause in passenger service in Carbon County. Passenger service be more or less really the tourism that's related to the. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to share this, and then we're going to get started. I'd just like to do a watch party or something, just to push it a little bit further to get
should I
started.
take off my mask?
You can, whatever you're comfortable with. I'm comfortable with the social distancing myself, but again, if you feel uncomfortable, I'm more than willing to put it back on. I have a 93-year-old mother, so I tend to be overly, I find myself to be overly cautious, but I think, again, trying to be responsible for her. Well, good afternoon. I know most folks are probably looking at my profile or the back of my head, so I apologize for that. This is Commissioner Chris Lukasiewicz. You're joining me at the meeting after the meeting. A little bit different from how we normally do it. I have 2 special guests who are with me today, and I want to introduce them both from Catholic Charities. So thank you, Rob Nicolella and Heidi Mercado, for joining me, just for about 10 minutes, because I want to highlight the incredible work and the task that you have picked up on behalf of Carbon County. So I think first and foremost, thank you, the gratitude for stepping up to the plate and the willingness for Catholic Charities, and specifically you all and the individuals who are part of this program on behalf of Carbon County for taking this on. So again, welcome to Jim Thorpe, welcome to Carbon County. Rob, if I can start with you, please. I wonder if you could give us a quick overview, kind of wave top overview of, first and foremost, Catholic Charities, and then we'll dig into the specifics of the rent relief program that you all are managing on behalf of Carbon County.
Sure.
Thank you.
Catholic Charities is a multi-service social service agency. We provide a variety of different services. We have food pantries, we have soup kitchens, we have case management programs where we provide rent assistance, utility assistance. The goal then also for those case management programs is to get individuals and households to be as self-sufficient as possible. We provide counseling services. We have an immigration program. All this is coupled within 5 different counties: Carbon, Lehigh, Northampton, Berks, and Schuylkill. Carbon County is what we're going to be focusing on, and
Right.
specifically the rent relief program that was administered from Catholic Charities to Carbon County residents. This is money that's come from the state. It's about $175 million, but that is a statewide number. The agency that is administering this is called PHFA, Pennsylvania Housing Finance
Mhm.
Agency, and they have doled out a certain allotment per county. Unfortunately, I don't have that allocation amount. That's a formula that they have come out with based on the people who are unemployed because of COVID-19 beginning March 1st.
Mhm.
So however their formula and allocation has come about, then that will be passed along to Catholic Charities, who is working with Carbon County in order to provide rent relief for individuals who are experiencing one of two things. One, either being laid off because of COVID-19, starting March 1st, or had a reduction in their income because of COVID-19, again, beginning March 1st.
Mhm. Go ahead, please continue.
Essentially, that's the program.
Mhm.
So there are 3 applications that are needed. One is needed by the renter
Mhm.
in order for them to be able to fill this out, in order for them to be able to get assistance.
Mhm.
2 items are needed by the landlord.
Mhm.
2 applications are needed by the landlord. One is a landlord application.
Right.
And then the second one is a certification that the property is at least in good standing.
Mhm.
So all 3 of those documents come into play, and then essentially, from that standpoint, that's where Heidi then takes over the responsibility.
Okay, so Heidi, let's go ahead. Let's say the process has taken place to the point at which that handoff takes place, that transition. So what occurs once it lands on your lap or on your desk?
Right, so once it lands on my desk, I'm speaking to the client
Mhm.
over the phone, just making sure that they
Mhm.
do fall into the criteria and the requirements
Mhm.
needed in order to receive the funding. So
Mhm.
we process an intake and assessment just to be sure we go over a review checklist just to make sure that they fall into that criteria so that
Mhm.
we can definitely move forward.
So what about, how quickly does the process move forward? Is it a quick process that individuals will know in a couple weeks' time, 72 hours? What are we seeing?
So I do want to say the turnaround time has been fairly a good amount of time, and I want to say like between 1 to 2 weeks, but don't quote me on that
Right,
as being
uh-huh.
definitive.
I won't, they will, all right?
Yeah, only because
Yeah.
like, so what we do is that we submit the information. So if a renter states that he did lose work, let's say beginning in March, so
Right.
we submit it over to the Department of Labor and Industry.
Mhm.
So we go ahead and submit that information, and then sometimes we get like a just the answer right back, like within like a week or so.
Mhm.
And this lets us know whether we can resume with the renter or not. It will let us know if they did in fact become unemployed
Mhm.
beginning in March, so now we can continue with the application.
At any point or at some point, do the parties, to include yourselves, physically have to come together to sign the documentation, or can it all be done via distant? Mostly in this environment, the pandemic environment we're in.
Yeah, right now, because of the COVID-19, there doesn't necessarily have to be an in-person meeting.
Wow.
So Heidi's basically having that communication with households and landlords
Mhm.
Via remotely.
Remotely. So they're downloading a document, they're signing it, or they're signing it electronically online, and that suffices?
Yes,
Okay.
so, right, typically, so what they would do, they will go into the website, phfa.org,
Yeah.
they
Mhm.
can download the application, go ahead and they can actually fill it out in the exact website.
Online on the browser, which is
Exactly, yes, and some people
Mhm.
have the option to either mail it in, or
Mhm.
they can actually email it directly to us, the Catholic Charities.
Are you seeing any trend? I know we spoke previously, we've had about 15 applicants currently. Are we seeing a trend of one way or the other on, are they applying, and this is a personal interest, are they applying via the browser? Are they downloading, mailing it in, faxing it in, scanning it as a PDF, sending it? Do you see one or the other?
I want to say that there's been a variety of all
Mm-hmm.
of them. So I've
Mhm.
had some people have faxed it in, they have
Yeah.
emailed it.
Yeah.
I want to say mostly email. It's
Okay,
been mostly
yeah.
emailing, but then you also have others who may not have access. So what they do is they just go ahead and mail it in, which
Right.
is also fine. Which I
Mhm.
think is great that they have the opportunity to either or.
Right,
So,
yeah.
If
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I think for like yesterday, we just got like 5 or 6 in that were just
Yes,
mailed in or something like that.
yes,
So it was
yes.
just interesting that it
Yeah.
happened.
Yes.
Because I would like, in Carbon County, our libraries are open. Now, the hours are limited. Again, that's an opportunity for those who might not have the connectivity, the internet service, or the computer access, that provides them a place where they can go apply directly online, or, you know, print the documents out at least. Because I will see a lot of the families that are challenged, you know, they may have smartphones and they may have data plans and stuff like that.
Okay.
But again, you still gotta fill it out, you still have to get it, forward it, and it's definitely working on an iPhone, you know, trying to fill something out is much more challenging than do it on a computer screen or even hard
And
copy.
Chris, it can be done more of an old-fashioned way.
Sure.
If somebody calls 610-435-1541, which is our number, and asks for Heidi, Heidi can certainly put the applications in the mail,
Uh-huh.
and they can mail it back
Okay,
also.
so that was 610-435.
1541.
1541. The human mind can easily remember 7 in a series. Beyond
And
that,
if you
becomes
wanted
much-
even more detail, she can even give her extension.
Right. What extension is that?
So that would be 269.
269. Okay, and that extension is to get you directly to Heidi if you have interest or you have questions, concerns, issues when it comes to the application process. So I understand, you know, kind of individuals who have been challenged financially since 1 March, but how long does the program last, and how much will it provide in rent relief?
Okay, so the program lasts until December 31st, but there's a caveat there. Each household is eligible up to 6 months, or $4,500 total.
Okay.
So, Heidi, explain the details with regards to the rent and how that goes with the household
Right.
amount.
So that would be up the maximum amount, $750.
Right,
So it's
okay.
up to that amount.
Yeah.
So even if the rent is, let's say, $1,200, $1,300, so essentially the funding would cover just up to $750. And this is the part where the landlord would have to attest that he would be willing to, you know, receive the $750 instead of.
Oh,
The
so
full amount.
that's a little caveat there.
Mhm.
So,
It is.
because if the landlord has to make a decision if they're willing to accept, if they're charging more than $750, they have to make a conscious decision that $750 is better than potentially nothing,
Nothing.
or maybe not being paid until much later.
Yes.
At a much later date when that individual or that family is financially stable again.
And Chris, exactly. That's
Uh-huh.
exactly what's been happening, because a lot of the landlords have been calling. So they actually been receptive to the program, because they do understand, because of the moratorium, that it's either you're gonna take at least something for the rent,
Right.
which will benefit, as opposed to not taking anything. So it may seem like, okay, $750 may not be sufficient, but I'd rather, you know, collect some portion of the rent than not receive
A
anything.
bird in the
So
hand is worth two in the bush, right?
Mhm.
So, though, I see though, we have ending, potentially the end of this month, with the $600 per week, you know, federal boost that has been provided, to those who are claiming unemployment. I would think that might be forestalling application, the process, or individuals who have not yet reached that point of need in that assistance. And secondly, if I recall, Governor Wolf has provided a directive, I don't know if it's a law, that is preventing or precluding individuals from being evicted. Is that correct? And how does that impact?
Right. So when there has been a moratorium put in place, and that has been pushed back mightily. I mean, it first was sometime in June, then it
Right.
went to July 10th, and now it's been pushed all the way to August 31st. So what that means is any landlord who is not getting some type of income from the renter, because the renter may have lost income due to COVID-19,
Right.
they can't follow through on any type of eviction. And it's a yin yang, because sometimes the landlord may have been, well, this renter has been great for the past 10 years or 5 years or
Right.
whatever the case may be, and now because of COVID-19 it's just hit this rough patch. So the idea then is, just as what Heidi was mentioning, it's allowing them to be able to get some money into the landlord. It allows the renter to be able to catch up on any missed payments that may have already occurred, and then there's no penalty. Because in a sense it's a win-win. They may not get all the money, but at least they're getting some money, and at least the renter then is being caught up in the amount of months. and it can move forward. Just as I had previously mentioned, it goes until December 31st or 6 months. The idea, though, if a person is eligible and Heidi has been working with them, if they're unable to pay August, then they just need to verify their income is still in the situation.
Okay.
They're maybe still trying to get hired but haven't been hired yet. Then they can be eligible for an August payment, and so on and so forth, up to that 6-month time frame.
So, Rob, you and I were speaking earlier before the Board of Commissioner meeting in regards to data. Is there any data or information that's going to come out of this process that's going to help us maybe for a future surge, or how to better prepare for incidents like this? You know, what could you foresee us learning from this process that might be helpful as what we like to say, best practices, lessons learned, how to respond maybe more proactively in the future to a similar incident?
You know, Chris, that's an interesting question, and I'm going to be very interested to know what type of data is culminating from all of this, because the report that they're asking for us on a monthly basis, it's not just who we've helped, it's who in a sense has requested help. So that's a larger universe of what is actually then being captured. So Heidi can, and there's another caseworker who was also involved, is we had a lot of landlords who were reaching out to us, but they had rent-to-own properties, and that just doesn't qualify. But that universe is larger, so I'm interested in knowing how, when all this kind of data, as you mentioned, gets put into place, how will it then be generated out? I mean, I think we're going to be kind of helping that data
Defeat it. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, no, that's great, because it may allow us to maybe broaden or modify subsequent programs of this nature that will be more effective, because there are likely particular groups that need the assistance who maybe we just didn't think of. The rent to own, which is kind of, at least in this area, seems to be pretty new. Now if you were doing other things, maybe buying a dishwasher or renting a TV from a place, you'll see that rent to own. But it's just recently that I've seen signs pop up for individuals saying rent to own an actual home, and basically, you're doing some type of lease or rental agreement, yet it doesn't necessarily fit the requirements of this particular program.
The other piece to it, because of the monthly reports that are occurring, is it's going to allow PHFA, who's got kind of more the stronghold of the money, to allow the money to be flexible and move into certain areas depending on if there's a greater surge or not so great surge in certain areas. I mean, one could imagine there's probably more need in some of the urban areas or maybe suburban areas, and they, depending on what their needs are, may have more need, but maybe they've been able to get reemployed quicker. So so you don't know. So maybe more of the rural areas may have a stronger need, and therefore whatever that allotted dollar amount that may have been initially been allocated for this example, Carbon County, there may be more depending on
the needs. And it's interesting, shifting the priority of effort, priority of resources based upon where we really see the need is. You throw something out there, you use your methodologies or your formulas to help determine allocation, but it doesn't necessarily reflect what you're going to see on the ground and stuff like that. So we'll be curious to see if there is a potential reallocation or shifting of resources as those needs come forth. So I'm going to finish up here in the next minute or two, but what are the documentation requirements? So if someone, they're going to have to pay that bus fare, and transportation is a challenge in Carbon County. It is expensive. It's not as flexible as you might have in certain places in the Lehigh Valley, although we do leverage Lambda. They are the administrator for our Carbon County community transportation. But if I can only make one trip to the library because that's all I can afford, or that's all my time allows. What documentation and such am I, as an applicant, required to provide or upload to help justify and ensure that I get it right the first time?
Yes, exactly. So I'll be honest, the documentation is not like so much.
Yeah.
So definitely driver's license, social security card,
Mhm.
birth certificate, the renter's lease,
Uh-huh.
and the financials from January to present, because we do want to see where has that reduction been and what month, so that they can qualify.
Mhm.
Or if they lost work, then obviously their pay stub showing up until when did they work.
Okay, so when you refer to financials, you're referring to their pay stubs?
So their pay stubs,
All right,
absolutely,
okay.
yes.
All right, and so they're going to be expected to upload, scan their driver's license or identification document, social security card, then to include any financials, lease agreement, and that goes in with the application. All right, and is that all available? Obviously, there's a checklist on the PHFA website, so they can at least look at that and understand what they need to prepare.
Absolutely, and
Yeah.
I tell a lot of the clients they can actually look at the website so they can see if they fall into that category.
Right.
So that way it just makes the process a whole lot smoother when by the time they connect with me.
Right, no, that's great. And the one thing I would ask as we continue to move through this process, when those stories of individuals come forth where we show a clear helping for people, we'd love to hear that. We'd love to take advantage of that and boost that on social media so people can see the impact that Catholic Charities is having by managing this program. Again, we want to highlight, one, what we're doing. We want to highlight what Catholic Charities is doing on behalf of Carbon County, and I'm talking to the residents of Carbon County. So as those little vignettes or stories, you know, Miss Jones comes in with 3 kids or whatever the case
Right.
may be, you know, we want to ensure
Yeah.
people know that we're providing a service that is valuable and importantly is helpful during these challenging times.
Well, Chris, I'm so glad you mentioned that, and I'll just throw in that there was like one specific client, he's a veteran, and he was so appreciative of
Mhm.
this program, and
Mhm.
he met the criteria.
Yeah.
So it's been like a smooth process with this gentleman.
Mhm.
But I just say that to say that he's been so thankful for this specific program.
Right.
You know, he's worked all his life, done everything, and then this happened. So again, these are the people that they're
Mhm.
in need of
Right.
this specific funding.
Yeah.
So it just, I'm excited that
Okay.
people can get the help that they need, and they're thankful for it.
Right, well, and thank you, Heidi, too, for your role in that, because, you know, just as important is the human touch, the interaction that they have, someone who I think is sympathetic, if not at times maybe having had our own challenges in our own lives, where we can also be empathetic, you know, to what they are struggling through at this time, and to have that voice on the other end, or to have some type of contact with someone who can understand those challenges. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And what I'd like to do, Rob, any final comments on the rent relief program that you would like to share with our Facebook audience as we wrap this up?
I just want to simply say, it's a team effort.
Mhm.
The county, you've
Mhm.
been very helpful.
Mhm.
I mean, between the 3 of us, we've all been really
Right.
synchronized and working together, and
Right.
that's been appreciated because it all works together as a team, the county and Catholic Charities together.
Yeah, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. Now this is gonna be the uncomfortable thing where I stand up and try to turn this off and stuff like that. But thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.